Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? This is Paul, and God has qualified me to be your hip hop relationship and recovery coach. And I'm bringing to you another Kick Your Butt Out episode. Now, before I get off into the content, as usual, I have to say what I always say, and I strongly encourage you to get this into your thought process so that you can incorporate this into your lives. And that is, if you're looking for a butt, it's going to always be easy to find one. That, my friends, is a promise. Now, I'm doing some throwback stuff because if you look at this shirt right here, this is the first Kick Your Butt Out shirt that was made. Shout out to Sue. She did a wonderful job with the template, and it has progressed to other designs for a Kick Your Butt Out t-shirt and apparel. So again, this is some throwback. Thank you so much, Sue. I really appreciate you. All right. Now, let's get off into what we want to talk about today. First and foremost, I always got to give a shout out to God. Why? Because without God, there is no hip hop relationship and recovery coach. There is no Kick Your Butt Out. There is nothing that pertains to any of this without God. So I always have to give a shout out to God. And thank you so much, God, for allowing me to be the person to be able to do this and have these wonderful conversations that you put on my spirit. The other thing I want to give a shout out to is Fellowship Church in Antioch, California. That's my church home. Shout out to my pastors, Sean and Diana Nefstead. And one of the reasons why I say that is because I know no one's perfect. However, my pastors, they live what they say for the most part. 100% love my pastors and appreciate what God is doing across in our communities and across the world through them. And so again, shout out to my pastors, Sean and Diana Nefstead, Fellowship Church in Antioch. Look them up. All right. One of the reasons why I wanted to give a shout out to my pastor, Sean, is because he said something in service, one of the Christmas services that I was in, that was so profound for me. And it just dropped in my spirit. And I just had to create an episode that spoke to that. And here's what he said. I want to make sure that I don't mess this up. So I'm going to say exactly what he said. He says, how you end a thing is how you start a thing. I'm going to say that again. How you end a thing is how you start a thing. Also, in the scriptures, Isaiah 43:19 to be exact, God says, see, I'm doing a new thing, right? And the reason why many of us can't see the new thing that God is doing, or we start a new thing not in a healthy manner, is because of the way we ended the old thing, or we're too busy looking at the old. That's why we can't see the new thing that God has started or trying to show us. How do I know? Been there, done it, right? And so with all of that being said, because of that, I've decided to title today's episode of Kick Your Butt Out. But did you end it? Really? But did you end it? All right. So I always have to start at the top. 100%. When we talk about, but did you end it? Many of us, myself included, have acknowledged that there's a need for relationship with God. Life is going so crazy in many cases. Yep, I need to get right with God. I need a relationship with God. And all of that's fine and dandy, but here's the thing that many of us have trapped ourselves into, this cliche that lots of people have been using over the years. Well, before I go to God, I want to do this. Before I go to God, I have to finish that. Before I go to God, I need to accomplish this. Before I go to God, XYZ. Y'all know what I'm talking about, because again, many of us have used it, and many of us are still using it to this day. And like I said, that's a wonderful thing for you to know that you have a need for God, right? That's a wonderful thing for you to know that you have a need for God. The problem is when many of us who have had that, well, I need to do this before, more often than not, some of us don't make it to God, or some of us prolong the time in the madness and in the darkness because we won't just end it and go to God because of the need, the knowledge, right, of the need for God that's going on inside of our hearts. And what am I saying? When that need arises, when you feel in your heart that there's a need for you to get right with God and go to God, do everything you need to do to end it and go. And one of the reasons why I'm saying that is because when we have that mentality, I have to do this, that, or the other before I go to God, here's what happens. Here's what happens. Say, for instance, we do this, that, or the other, and then we do go to God. Because some of us make it there, right? What happens is when things aren't going the way that we wanted to go, when the going gets tough, when adversity hits and all of those kind of things, because of the way we ended that other thing, what we did is leave a door open. So when this ain't working or it's not going the way that I wanted to go, I go back to the other thing. How do I know? Yep. Been there, done it. And many of you out there watching this podcast know exactly what I'm talking about, because some of you all might be living it right now. Because if things didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, and you didn't end it the way that whatever it was that you was a part of, the way that you needed to end it, when that opportunity or that temptation presented itself for you to go back, we end up going back. Think about it from a biblical standpoint. What was one of the things that the Hebrews said when they were in the wilderness on the way to the promised land? We would be better off going back to, and why? It's because of the way that they ended that thing. They ended it with a mindset and a mentality not to move forward, but just in case, there's an opportunity for me to go back. And more often than not, that going back is 100% of the time. 100% of the time, that going back is way more detrimental and harmful and hurtful to our lives than it was before we left it. I remember, as many of you know, I spent a great number of years of my life in and out the justice system, in and out the penal system, in and out of courts and jails and prisons and all that. I spent a substantial part of my life doing it. And one of the things that I used to see quite often is, you got a person that has a case pending or, going to trial or whatever the case may be. And you may have a judge that says, okay, I'm going to be a little lenient on this person. I'm not going to give you what I feel like you should need. And so you should go to prison. What you've done warrants me sending you to prison, but I'm gonna give you a break and I'm going to allow you to do your time in the county jail on a pre-release a type of sentencing. And what that is you'll go to the county jail, but you'll go to the part of the county jail where you'll be able to get out daily. It's 6 days a week. You have to have one day that you stay in. And you can get out for work release, you get out for treatment release, you get out for healthcare release, you get out for child care release. Many reasons that's given to you as a privilege to be able to go and still live your life while you come back at night and spend the night in jail. That's how it was, right? And I used to watch many people mess that up. And here's how they mess it up. Again, but did you end it? Here's how they mess it up. The judge will sentence them and say, well, I'll sentence you to this amount of time in the county jail with release privileges, blase, blase, right? One of the stipulations in the sentencing is no drugs or alcohol. No drugs or alcohol in your system. And so what a lot of them used to do was they would get, and they'll allow, I got to make sure I put that in there. They would allow them to turn themselves in. So you report to the county jail this date by this time, so that you can start your sentence. And many of them go out, get drunk, get high, or do whatever it is that they do. I'm gonna do all this before I go in. Didn't end it. And what always happened was when they go and turn themselves in so they could start that work release or that release a sentence, they'll do a UA or breathalyzer. And more often than not, you've seen these people being handcuffed, put in the jail oranges, and being sent off to the jail where they have no privileges. And it's because that's part of the sentencing. If you pay attention to it, what the judge was saying, I'm giving you a chance to end something and start something new. And because they didn't pay attention to that, they ended it the way that they was always doing it, right? And end up going losing all of those privileges, maybe losing their job, maybe losing their kids, school, whatever the case may be. They're losing a whole lot of stuff because you can't get out. You have to do whatever amount of time that the judge sentenced you to in the county jail. Now, watch this. To add to it, because of the way that they ended it, more often than not, when they get released after they finish doing all their time, what's the first thing that they do when they get out? They go get high. So just like my pastor said, how you end a thing is how you start a thing. And my question to all of us is, but did you really end it? Did you end it? Did you end it? And what that means is you listen, you have to just stop. We can't, well, let me get the last, we can't do that, because what we're saying is what we were doing that needed to end was okay. And like I said, when the chips are down on the other side of this thing, when stuff not going your way, when adversity hits and all that kind of stuff, because of the way you ended, you end up going back to it. Same thing from a fitness standpoint. Many of us who go on these diets or these New Year's resolutions, we pig out. Well, that's what you're going to end up doing as you are talking about getting healthy from a fitness standpoint, getting healthy from a physical standpoint. One of the best ways to end that so that you can start this fitness thing or this healthy standpoint or this healthiness from a physical standpoint is go into your cabinets and refrigerator and all the little cracks and crevices in your house, or wherever, your office, wherever they are, and get rid of all that stuff. Because how you end the thing is how you're going to begin another. And what do I mean by that? We have many of us, because of the way we ended our cheat days, and there's nothing wrong with a cheat day, but you have some momentum going from a place or perspective of you have been doing well with your fitness. You've gotten healthy again. You've gotten off some of the unwanted or unhealthy pounds and all of that kind of stuff. Get that going first before you start to call yourself being eligible or being in a place and in a position to do a cheat day. Because if you don't, your cheat day is going to turn into two cheat days and so forth and so on. The next thing you know, you done fell all the way off track. How do I know? Yep. Been there, done it. And so, but did you end it? Is the question, and like I said, if from a fitness standpoint, if that's what you want to do, listen, I'm all for it. Let's work together. Let's help one another to get fit from a physical standpoint, because I promise you, from my experiences, it definitely adds years onto your life if you're taking care of yourself from a physical standpoint. Because if you feel good on the inside, it's going to be a whole lot of other stuff in your life that's going to feel good as well. But again, you have to end this thing from a place of like, hey, listen, I'm getting rid of all this stuff. I don't want to eat the last piece and all that kind of stuff before I start tomorrow. Again, because like I said, you'll go back and it always ends up a whole lot more harmful than it was before you stopped the first time. And this next part is to all of us who are married or who are getting married. They used to have this saying, sow my oats or sow your oats before you get married. And what that means is go have your last hoorah from a single and an unmarried standpoint before you go off into your marriage. And I'm here to tell you, don't do that. Don't do that. You know, here's how I'm going to say it. All of you people out there who having these bachelor parties with these naked strippers and all you women who having these bachelorette parties with these naked men, but did you end it? That's not the way to end something as you're going into a situation with somebody that you say you love and that you plan on spending the rest of your life with. Because if I was with somebody the night before I got married, right? And whether I knew these people or not, if I was with somebody from a physical standpoint the night before I got married, do you know that when stuff happens in our marriage that ain't, conducive to what I think our marriage should be, what do you think? What do you think is going to be one of the main things on the top of my list? Yes, I'm being susceptible to go and mess around with somebody else on my marriage is going to be at the top of the list. I promise you that. Listen, it's going to be at the top of the list with alcohol or drugs. All of that stuff is going to be at the top of the list. Going out, partying, all that stuff going to be at the top of the list. Hanging out with people who ain't married and asking them for advice is going to be on the top of the list. Like, and again, sowing my oats. I'm opening up the door for all of this other mess when stuff ain't going right to come and show up and give me my excuse or my reason to go and do some infidelity against my marriage and against what I said in my heart that I was going to be to my spouse. How do I know? How do I know? Okay. Now, the other part of that, this is one of the things that I hate to hear people say the most because it's such a defeatist and harmful statement. I need closure. I hate when people say that. Well, I need closure. Let me say something to y'all out there. If they left you, ain't that enough closure? They left. They gone. Ain't that enough closure? Or if you didn't leave, he or she was going to end up beating you to death. Ain't that enough closure? Isn't that enough closure? If you didn't leave, you and your kids were going to be homeless or in the poorhouse. Ain't that enough closure? And here's one of the reasons why I'm speaking about that is because if you don't allow the fact that all of the stuff been showing, all of the stuff been pointing to, I need to end this and end this way and end this now and never turn back, you're opening up the door for when you go calling yourself get closure. They do some sweet talking or some sweet smelling or looking good or whatever the case may be, and you end up right back in that hellhole that you cried so tough to get out of. Let me say something that T.D. Jakes said once before. If they leave, you let them. And that's the closure that you need. I hate that statement because everybody that I've heard use that statement, the reality of it is they didn't want to end it anyway. I'm just keeping it 100. And y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of you all out there are the closure people. Listen, when you leave me, I got it. That's all the closure that I need. And so, let me say this, maybe make sure that I say this. I had to learn how to do that. I had to learn how to just let it go. Like Teddy Pendergrass say, think I better let it go. Nope, I can't sing, but I know the lyrics. Nah. Anyway, that's what he said. Think I better let it go. Okay, y'all know what I'm talking about. There you go. Closure, like I said, again, how Pastor said, how you end the thing is how you going to start a thing. And so if they gone, that's all the closure you need. And that'll keep you from not going back. So the other thing I'm mentioning, because I've heard lots of people say this as well. I know I need to go to God, but let me get this money. Let me get this money before I go to God. And again, like I said, I really appreciate and respect and honor that you understand that there is a need for you to have a relationship with God. But let me say it to you like this. If you need to go get this money before you go to God, what you are saying is that you don't trust God enough, who owns all the money, to give you some. I'm going to say that again. If you are saying that I need to get this money this way before I go to God, what you are saying is that you don't trust the God who owns all the money enough to give you yours. And what happens is when you go to God with all this money and that you got, if you end up going, because a lot of times what starts to happen is you don't get the money that you thought you was going to get, and that keeps you in that. Not ending that the way it needed to be ended a whole lot longer. But if you do end up getting out of that, getting this money that you needed, and you end up going to God, and you're not getting the money the way you was getting it from God, the way that you was getting it, and you still trying to live that same lifestyle, what happens is, I know how to go get some more. I know how to go get some money. And so my question is, but did you end it? But did you end it? And I want to say it again, like, listen, y'all, God owns all the money. And if he's your father, why would he have all the money in his hand and in his power and not give it to his kids? Bible even says it, if you on earth being evil, that's what he said. If you being evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more your Father in heaven? So how you end the thing is how you start a thing. I don't care how much money you got. If you know that you need God, go. End that thing and go. Because I promise you, God said it in his word. I talked about it at the beginning. He said, see, I'm doing a new thing. And if we let go of the old thing or end that old thing in the way that we need to end it, we'll be able to see the new thing that God has for us. How do I know? I'm experiencing it right now. So what I'm saying in summary, everybody, what I'm saying is stop. Whatever you need to end it with a mindset of, I'm ending this from a perspective of, I want to go this way and never allow myself to believe that it's okay to go back that way. That's how we have to end stuff. We have to end stuff. We got to let it go. We got to stop. We got to be open for the new, totally open for the new, and understand this. Listen, y'all, listen. God has wonderful gifts for his children, for his people. But one thing I know for sure about God is not an overnight sensation. He's not a microwave God. God, if you read his scripture, he refers to a whole lot of farming and planting. And if you know anything about farming and planting, nothing grows overnight but weeds. Nothing grows overnight but weeds. And we don't eat weeds. We all understand that weeds grow up and choke everything that's healthy. So if you're thinking that you can come to God and believe that he's going to grow everything that he has for you overnight, I want you to kill that thought process. End that thought process. End it. End it. And begin to understand, because like how you end one thing is how you're going to start a new thing. And start to understand that God is a planter. It's going to take time to grow. Because anything that takes time to grow needs care and nurturing and all of the wonderful things that goes along with it. And when that thing grows, it bears much fruit. You can eat off of it for generations and generations and generations. But the only way that's going to happen for all of us people is that we got to end some things. We have to end some things and start anew. And like I said, don't just end it from putting it down from a physical standpoint. We got to put that thing down physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and all of these financially, relationally, right? Intellectually, socially, from a community. We have to put that thing down. Here's, and then I'll close shortly after this. But here's how they talk about it from a recovery standpoint. They say you have to change people, places, and things. And those things are so powerful for us creating a healthy recovery, right, for our lives. There's one more thing that has to be added to that. We have to change our mind about the people, places, and things as well. Because I remember in my lifetime, the way I ended it is that because of the fact that I didn't change my mind about the people, places, and things that was behind me or back there. When the chips were down, I found myself with the same people in the same places doing the exact same thing. And I'm sitting here asking God one of the dumbest questions in the world. How I get back here, God? How did I get back here? And the way we end up back is how we end the thing. So people, everybody within the sound of my voice, like my pastor said, how you end the thing is how you're going to start a thing. And my question to all of us is, but did you end it? But did you end it? And your life is going to show up and determine to you what you really did. And my prayer and my hope is that all of us really did, so that we could see and be a part of that new thing that God said that he's doing. So with that being said, listen, everybody, within the sound of my voice, I love every last one of y'all. There's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. I ask you all the time, please do the next right thing. Be well. God bless you all. If you're looking for a butt, it's going to always be easy to find one. This is Paul. God has qualified me to be your hip hop relationship and recovery coach. And I'm going to say this, y'all. End it. Please end it. Because if you don't end it, it's going to end you. I'm signing out. Deuces.